We do have a lot of violence on this yard. Fights, batteries. Matter of fact, we had a murder in that housing just a month and a half ago. They did CPR on a guy right out here in the yard, and he was pronounced dead.
There isn't much Ed Borla hasn't seen in his 25 years in California's criminal justice system. First as a corrections officer, and now as the deputy chief warden at Salinas Valley State Prison. As the second in command here, he's in charge of about 3,000 inmates. A level 4 maximum security prison, Salinas houses some of the state's most violent offenders, including rapists and murderers. But these days, it's leading the way when it comes to prison reform.
Inmates come back in multiple times, revolving door. So we got to end that.
I was worried about you.
For decades, the American prison system has been focused on punishment and deterrence. But now, Borla says, it's going through a sea change.
I forget when it was, the 80s, when we did lock them all up and throw away the key. And then over time, we learned that that wasn't working.
While the U.S. has 5% of the world's population, it has 25% of its prisoners. The cost to taxpayers, $80 billion a year, which is why Borla and his team are testing out an approach used in Norway, where the recidivism or relapse rate is at 20%, compared to about 75% in the U.S.
We're a pilot program for it, and it's just basically inserting humanity into the prison system.
The idea is simple. The punishment should be the loss of freedom, not the loss of dignity. One of the biggest changes, using prisoners' names rather than calling them inmates. Guards here also make a point to get to know them better, playing board games and taking them on long walks.
This is the living room for the inmates.
It's still a far cry from the Norwegian model, where inmates live in cells that have been described as dorms, and prisons have state-of-the-art amenities.
I wish I fly like a bird.
Including a recording studio. There are no plans for anything like that here anytime soon. The program is still in its infancy. For now, Borla and his team are focusing on what they can do with the little they have, adding more classes and activities.
Put your hands together.
The prison says it's already seeing a decline in one key measure, attempted suicides.
Namaste.
More importantly, prisoners say they've noticed a difference. Terrence Ford is here for an armed carjacking, which landed him in prison for 26 years to life. He says the new approach has given him something you'd be hard-pressed to find in a maximum security prison.
This is the first time we've ever had action that truly showing our humanity instead of just our mistakes.
It's tempting to chalk it all up to progressiveness run amok. But, according to Borla, at the end of the day, this is not just good for the prisoners and the prison, but society as a whole.
Someday these guys are going to get out. We don't want these guys not having the ability to be successful.
The hope is to prepare inmates for life after they get out, moving away from managing prisoners to creating good neighbors. Itai Had, KPIX 5.